Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to dive into a fascinating topic that will stir your heart and deepen your awareness of the unseen world around us. We're going to explore the 9 signs that angels may be present in your home. These divine signs that angels are near is the presence of unexplained sounds. In moments when you least expect it, you might hear gentle footsteps, soft knocks, or even faint whispers echoing through an empty room. These sounds are not caused by the usual creaks of the house settling or the wind shifting outside. They are different. They have a supernatural quality to them, and their purpose is not to frighten, but to alert you to the presence of something divine. The first time you experience this, you may be startled. Perhaps it's the sound of footsteps pacing through the hallways, or the subtle sound of something or someone moving around in a quiet room. You might check the house only to find no one there. The hair on the back of your neck might stand up, and you feel a sudden rush of energy in the room. You are not imagining it. Something spiritual is happening. This is one of the clearest signs that angels are in your home. Angels, according to the scriptures, often move in ways that are not immediately seen, but are sensed by those who are attuned to the Spirit. In the Bible, we are told that angels can appear in the form of human beings, sometimes even without being recognized immediately. They come to bring messages, to guide, and to protect. Their movements are often silent, but when they do reveal their presence, it is marked by a deep, unmistakable feeling of awe and wonder. The sounds they make can be subtle, but they are enough to let you know that something extraordinary. Imagine sitting alone in your living room, perhaps reading or praying, when suddenly you hear a soft knock on the door. No one is there, yet the sound was clear. Or perhaps you're in the kitchen and you hear footsteps walking across the floor, yet when you look up, the room is empty. These are the moments when you should pay attention. These sounds aren't random. They are signs from the spiritual realm that the presence of angels is near. In our daily lives, we may overlook these signs or chalk them up to coincidence, but the Bible reminds us that God's messengers are always present, moving among us to fulfill his divine purposes. There are times when we are so caught up in the noise of the world that we fail to hear the subtle whispers of angels. But when we are still and quiet, we become more attuned to the divine sounds that accompany their visits. Angels communicate with us not only through their physical manifestations, but also through the sounds they make. They may softly knock on the door, signaling their arrival or presence. In moments of prayer or worship, the sounds might grow louder, reminding us that God's heavenly host is working on our behalf. While these sounds may seem subtle, they are deeply significant. In the Bible, we are reminded that angels are sent to deliver messages of encouragement, hope, and protection. Their arrival is not always grand and spectacular. Sometimes it's in the soft, quiet sounds that go unnoticed by the world, but are profoundly felt by the soul. These sounds remind us of the greater reality beyond our earthly senses, a reminder that the spiritual realm is just as real as the physical world around us. When you experience these unexplained sounds, it's an invitation to pause, to listen, and to reflect on the deeper meaning behind them. They are not just noises, they are signs, often from angels, offering a glimpse into the heavenly realm. When we begin to recognize these sounds as divine messages, we open ourselves to a deeper connection with the spiritual world, one that reassures us that we are never truly alone. Another unmistakable sign that angels are in your home is the sudden and overwhelming wave of peace or calm that can fill a room. It happens at the most unexpected moments, often when you are in the midst of stress, worry, or confusion. In the blink of an eye, everything shifts, and you are enveloped by a profound stillness that calms your spirit and soothes your heart. The chaos and noise of the world seem to fade, leaving behind a sense of comfort that cannot be explained by natural means. This sudden sense of peace is not just an emotional or mental state. It is a spiritual experience. It's a sign that something divine is happening, that an angelic presence has descended and is bringing with it a deep, unshakable calm. You may have been overwhelmed by the demands of life, dealing with problems or anxieties that seem too great to handle, and then, in the middle of your turmoil, an unexplainable peace takes over, and the weight of your burdens feels lighter. This peace does not come from circumstances. It comes from the presence of something higher, something eternal. In the Bible, we are said that peace is one of the most powerful gifts that God can provide. It is not a peace that the world offers, one that is fleeting or dependent on outward circumstances, but a peace that transcends understanding. It is a peace that can only come from divine intervention, from the presence of the Holy Spirit and his messengers. When angels come near, they bring with them a wave of peace that quiets the soul and removes the noise of everyday life. This divine peace is not just a temporary relief. It is a gift that lingers, staying with you long after the moment has passed. This sense of peace can be experienced in various forms. It might be a sudden stillness that overtakes a room, as if the very air around you has shifted. Or perhaps it is a deep sense of reassurance that settles in your heart, telling you that everything is going to be okay, that you are not alone, and that you are being watched over and protected. Even in the midst of a storm, this peace remains. It's as if the presence of angels has blocked out the noise of the world, allowing you to rest in the security that God's heavenly host is nearby, offering you protection, comfort, and divine assistance. When this peace comes, you might find that you feel more connected to God than ever before. You may feel a stronger sense of his presence, and suddenly the things that once seemed overwhelming no longer hold the same weight. Your fears and anxieties dissipate, replaced by an unwavering trust that God's angels are with you. The chaos that once seemed insurmountable is now manageable, and you're reminded that with God's help, all things are possible. In the Bible, we are said that God promises his peace to those who trust in him. This peace isn't a temporary solution to our problems, but a lasting gift that anchors our hearts in times of trial. Angels are sent to remind us of this peace, to bring us back to the center of God's love and security. Their presence serves as a constant reminder that no matter what happens around us, we can rest in the calm assurance that God is with us, and he has sent his messengers to keep us safe and at peace. When this sudden wave of peace fills your home, it is a sign that you are in alignment with the divine. It is a reminder that the spiritual realm is not distant or disconnected from our lives. It is actively involved, working in ways we may not fully understand but can certainly feel. When angels bring peace, they bring more than just a temporary sense of relief. They bring a profound connection to God's eternal and unshakable peace. A powerful and undeniable sign that angels are near is the sensation of their presence. It is not something that can be easily explained by logic or physical senses, but rather it is felt deep within the spirit. You might find yourself in a room alone, and suddenly an overwhelming feeling of being watched or accompanied fills the space. This presence is not just a vague sense of someone being nearby. It's a profound awareness that something or someone spiritual is right there with you. The air feels different, the atmosphere changes, and there's a deep knowing that you are not alone. Sometimes this sensation comes with a physical response. You may feel an inexplicable warmth or a tingling sensation on your skin, or perhaps your heart rate quickens and your senses heighten. It's as if every part of you is tuned in to something you cannot see but can clearly sense. Your body might even react as if it's in the presence of something extraordinary, something beyond the ordinary experience of human perception. It's a divine awareness, a moment when the veil between the physical and spiritual world becomes thin and you can feel the weight of the angelic presence around you. In the Bible, we are said that angels are often sent as messengers, agents of divine guidance and protection, yet their presence is not always immediately visible. There are times when God's messengers move in quiet ways, subtly influencing the atmosphere and interacting with the hearts of those they visit. They do not always announce themselves in grand or dramatic displays, but rather in ways that are felt rather than seen. This sensation of presence, this knowing that you are being watched over or accompanied, is one of the most powerful and intimate ways that angels communicate with us. When angels are near, they often make their presence felt by creating a change in the spiritual atmosphere. You might be sitting quietly in your home, feeling as though everything is normal, and then suddenly the room feels different. It's as if something has shifted, and you can feel a new energy in the air. It's not a force of nature, it's a spiritual presence that fills the space with a sense of peace, protection, and awe. Even though you cannot see them, you know without a doubt that angels are there with you, surrounding you with their presence and divine protection. This awareness of an angelic presence is often accompanied by a deep sense of comfort and security. It's as if the weight of the world lifts from your shoulders and you are reminded that you are not alone. In these moments, you might feel that everything is exactly as it should be and you are being gently guided toward peace. The angels are there to encourage you, to remind you that you are loved and that their purpose is to protect and help you through life's challenges. The feeling of being in the presence of angels is also a call to pay attention. They bring messages, guidance, and divine insights that we may need to receive. Their presence in our lives is never random. It is a purposeful and loving intervention. Whether you are going through a difficult time, making important decisions, or simply going about your day, when you sense their presence, take a moment to pause. It's an invitation to listen to the whispers of the divine, to trust that you are being guided, and to rest in the knowledge that you are surrounded by heavenly protection. In the Bible, we are told that angels are ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation. They are constantly working on our behalf, though we may not always be aware of it. When their presence is felt in our lives, it is a reminder that the unseen world is just as real as the one we can see, and that we are constantly being supported and watched over by God's messengers. Another unmistakable sign that angels are near is the appearance of bright lights or orbs. These mysterious and inexplicable flashes of light, often appearing in the corner of your eye or captured in photographs, are one of the most commonly reported signs of angelic presence. You might notice a sudden glow that appears out of nowhere, or perhaps a strange and radiant orb floating in the air. These lights are not random. They are divine manifestations, a physical representation of the heavenly presence that surrounds us. It's important to note that these lights are not always bright, blinding flashes. Sometimes they appear as soft, glowing orbs or even a gentle light that fills the space. They may shimmer or hover in the distance, appearing briefly before fading away as quickly as they came. While these phenomena might seem to defy logic or reason, they are deeply spiritual occurrences that point to the reality of angels and the presence of the divine. In many instances, people have reported seeing these orbs in times of prayer or worship. In these sacred moments, when the heart is open and the spirit is receptive, the veil between the physical world and the spiritual realm becomes thinner. Angels, in their pure and radiant form, are drawn to these moments of heightened spiritual awareness. Their presence is often marked by the appearance of these lights, a sign that the heavens are watching over the earth, guiding and protecting those who are seeking God's presence. In the Bible, we are said that God is light, and those who follow him walk in that light. This connection between light and the divine is central to understanding the presence of angels. Light is often used as a symbol of purity, truth, and divine revelation. The appearance of these lights or orbs can be understood as a manifestation of that divine light, a visible reminder that God's messengers are near, illuminating our path and guiding us toward his will. Just as a light shines in the darkness, the presence of angels brings clarity and direction into our lives, helping us see the way forward even in times of confusion or fear. These lights are not merely coincidental. They are powerful symbols of divine intervention. Some people have described feeling a sense of warmth and peace when they encounter such lights, a tangible comfort that reassures them that they are not alone. The presence of these lights serves as a sign that God's angels are watching over us, offering protection and support. They appear not to dazzle or distract, but to comfort and remind us of the unseen spiritual world that is constantly at work in our lives. These phenomena are not limited to any particular setting. They can appear in homes, in churches, or even in the quiet of nature. In the Bible, we are said that angels often appear as messengers in the form of light, and their radiance reflects the glory of God. This divine light is not just a physical phenomenon, but a reflection of the presence of something far greater, a glimpse into the majesty and holiness of the Creator himself. When you encounter these lights, it is an invitation to recognize the presence of angels in your life. Their appearance serves as a reminder that there is more to this world than what we can see. It calls us to look beyond the physical realm and become more aware of the spiritual forces at work. These lights are not just beautiful or mysterious occurrences. They are signs that the heavenly realm is active, constantly reaching out to guide, protect, and encourage us. In every encounter with these lights, we are reminded that angels are among us, walking with us on our journey and bringing the light of God's love and protection into our lives. Sometimes angels make their presence known through the natural world around us. This may seem surprising, but it is often in the seemingly small, everyday events in nature that we can discern the presence of the divine. Unusual behaviors in animals or even changes in the environment can be signs that angels are near. For example, you may notice an unusual gathering of birds outside your window, or an animal acting in a way that seems to respond to something unseen. These seemingly strange occurrences are not random, but are often signals that something spiritual is at work. Animals, with their heightened instincts and sensitivity, can detect spiritual forces that are beyond human perception. There are countless accounts of animals behaving in ways that suggest they are aware of an unseen presence. Perhaps your dog or cat behaves as if it is watching something invisible. Or maybe birds or butterflies suddenly appear in an area where they typically would not be. In these moments, it's possible that the animals are reacting to the presence of angels or other divine beings that we cannot see with our physical eyes. This awareness of the spiritual realm is something that many animals possess, and their behavior can offer clues to what is happening in the unseen world around us. In the Bible, we are said that God created all living things, and he has given each creature a role in his divine plan. Animals, though they do not speak as humans do, are often used as instruments in God's design to reveal his glory. Sometimes their behavior may mirror the unseen workings of the angels. Just as angels are messengers of God, animals too can serve as messengers, drawing our attention to something greater than ourselves. When an animal behaves in an unusual manner, it might be signaling that God's angels are nearby, fulfilling their purpose in protecting and guiding his people. The Bible also speaks of nature responding to the presence of God's creation and angels. In moments of divine visitation, the natural world often aligns itself with the spiritual, as if to acknowledge the presence of the holy. This might be seen in the way plants bloom at unexpected times, or how animals gather, or act in a way that seems perfectly coordinated with the divine will. Nature is not a separate entity from the spiritual world. Rather, it is an interconnected part of God's creation. The angels who serve at his command can influence the natural world to bring comfort, messages, or reassurance to those they are sent to protect. In these moments, when the natural world seems to respond in ways that defy explanation, it serves as a powerful reminder that God's presence is not confined to human understanding. The spiritual world and the physical world are intimately connected, and angels are able to interact with both. Whether it's the sudden appearance of a butterfly, a bird hovering near you when you are in need of guidance, or a pet acting out of character, these are all ways in which angels may use nature to signal their presence. When you experience these signs in nature, it's an opportunity to pause and reflect on what might be happening spiritually. These occurrences may seem minor or even coincidental, but they carry a deep significance. They invite us to open our eyes to the reality of the spiritual world that surrounds us, a world that is active and ever-present, though often unseen. In the Bible, we are said that nature itself declares the glory of God. And when we notice the subtle ways that the natural world interacts with the divine, we are reminded that we are always in the presence of the Creator, and his messengers are with us, guiding us and watching over us. One of the most intriguing signs that angels are in your home is the occurrence of unexplained movements or objects seemingly shifting of their own accord. You may notice items suddenly being displaced without explanation. A book might fall off a shelf when no one is around, or a picture frame may move ever so slightly on the wall. These seemingly minor occurrences can often go unnoticed, but they carry with them a deeper spiritual significance. They are signs that angels are nearby, working behind the scenes in ways that transcend our natural understanding. These movements or objects shifting do not happen randomly. They occur in ways that are intentional and purposeful. Sometimes you might experience a book moving across the table or a piece of furniture being adjusted as if someone had touched it. At first glance, you may dismiss these events as simple accidents, but there's often a deeper purpose behind them. Angels, as messengers of God, can influence the physical world when necessary. They may move objects or make subtle shifts in the environment to draw your attention, to remind you of their presence, or to signal that something significant is about to happen. Their actions are not chaotic. They are always aligned with divine order and purpose. In the Bible, we are said that angels are sent to serve and protect God's people. They carry out divine missions, and their involvement in our lives is not always subtle. While their physical presence may not always be visible, their influence can be seen in many ways. Sometimes this influence is manifested through the movement of objects or subtle changes in the environment. The Bible tells us that God's angels are involved in every detail of our lives, and that they are sent to deliver messages, offer guidance, and protect us from harm. These movements or shifting objects could be one of the many ways angels are trying to communicate with us or guide us toward a particular outcome. For example, you might be praying or thinking deeply about an important decision, and at that very moment, a picture frame falls from the wall or a book falls off a shelf. It's easy to ignore these events, but they may be a prompt from the angels to pay closer attention, to consider the guidance that God is offering you at that time. Hey, in the Bible, we are said that angels minister to those who will inherit salvation, and their role is often to provide divine assistance when needed most. These unexplained events can be signs that angels are nearby, offering guidance, encouragement, or even protection. Angels are also known to be agents of God's will, and they can sometimes move objects or make subtle shifts in our environment to align with divine purposes. Whether it's moving an object to reveal something important or gently guiding us to a new direction, their influence can be seen in the smallest details of our daily lives. In these moments, we are reminded that the spiritual world is not distant or disconnected from our physical reality. It is actively involved in shaping our lives, and angels are constantly working on our behalf to fulfill God's divine plan. While we may not always fully understand the reasons behind these movements, we can trust that they are part of a divine order, working to guide, protect, and reassure us. When you notice objects shifting or movements happening without any natural cause, it is a powerful sign that angels are nearby, reminding you that you are being watched over and cared for by divine messengers. These subtle occurrences invite you to open your heart to the spiritual realm, to be more aware of the ways in which God and His angels are at work in your life, even in the quietest moments. Unusual dreams or visions are one of the most profound signs that angels are present in your life. These dreams are not simply random occurrences. They carry deep spiritual significance, often providing guidance, warnings, or comfort. When angels are near, they sometimes communicate through dreams or visions, offering messages from the divine. You may experience vivid dreams that feel different from your usual ones, with a sense of clarity or purpose that is unmistakable. In these dreams, you might encounter angelic figures, find yourself in a peaceful and heavenly setting, or receive divine revelations that speak to your current situation. The Bible makes it clear that God often communicates with His people through dreams and visions. Just as He used dreams to speak to prophets and kings, He still uses these means today to guide, warn, and direct us. In times when we are seeking answers or in need of divine intervention, angels may visit us through our dreams, delivering messages that can change the course of our lives. These dreams are more than just images or subconscious reflections of our thoughts. They are channels through which God's messengers, the angels, can bring clarity and understanding. In the Bible, we are said that God speaks to His people in many ways, and dreams are one of the ways He reaches us. When angels appear in dreams, it is often to provide important guidance or to give reassurance in times of doubt or fear. The vividness of these dreams can be striking, and their message can stay with you long after you wake up. Sometimes the dream may be symbolic, representing a deeper truth that requires reflection, while other times the message may be straightforward, offering clear direction or confirmation. Angels are known to bring comfort and protection, and their role in dreams is no different. If you have been going through a difficult period or facing uncertainty, you may receive dreams that reassure you that you are not alone, that God's angels are with you, and that you are being watched over. These dreams can be incredibly powerful, offering a sense of peace and hope that carries you through the challenges you face. They remind you that God's protection is ever present and that His angels are actively involved in your life, working behind the scenes to guide and shield you. In the Bible, we are said that angels are sent to minister to those who will inherit salvation, and their role as messengers is not confined to the physical realm. They are active participants in the spiritual world, constantly interacting with humanity to carry out God's will. When they appear in our dreams, it is a sign that they are responding to our prayers or needs, offering heavenly guidance that is needed in that moment. These dreams may be a source of divine revelation offering answers to questions we have been asking, or providing insights into areas of our lives where we need direction. The power of these dreams and visions should not be underestimated. They are not mere coincidences, but are purposeful messages sent from the heavenly realm. When you experience a dream or vision that feels otherworldly, it is an invitation to pay close attention. These dreams may come in times of prayer, contemplation, or emotional distress, serving as a reminder that God's angels are watching over you and are deeply involved in your journey. Whether the dream is a direct message, a warning, or simply a comforting visit from an angel, it is a sign that the spiritual realm is not distant from your life, but actively engaged with it. When you receive such dreams or visions, it is a moment to reflect on the messages you have received. Trust that angels are communicating with you, offering divine insight and guidance. Just as in the Bible, where angels brought important messages through dreams, they are still active today, helping us navigate the complexities of our lives and reminding us of God's constant presence and care. One of the most profound signs that angels are near is experiencing a sudden, unexplained urge to pray or worship. This can happen at any moment, often when you least expect it. You might find yourself feeling an intense desire to pray, even if you were not consciously thinking about it. This inner prompting can be overwhelming, leading you to fall to your knees in prayer or begin worshiping in a way that feels deeply connected to the spiritual realm. It is as if something beyond your control or understanding is guiding you to turn your heart and mind toward God. Such urges are not random or coincidental. They are often the work of the Holy Spirit, who stirs our hearts and draws us into communion with God. In many cases, this urge can be a sign that angels are near, prompting you to connect with God in a moment of spiritual significance. Angels, as messengers of God, are constantly involved in the lives of believers, and they often work to encourage and lead us into deeper moments of prayer and worship. When they are present, their influence can draw our attention to the divine and lead us into moments of deep spiritual connection. In the Bible, we are said that God's angels are constantly praising Him, and they are also involved in encouraging His people to worship. The Bible speaks of angels surrounding God's throne, singing praises and giving glory to His name. These heavenly beings who are in the direct presence of God inspire worship in those who encounter them. When you feel that sudden urge to pray or worship, it can be a divine invitation to join in the celestial worship that is constantly taking place in heaven. Angels often facilitate moments of connection with the divine, drawing us into the presence of God, where we can experience His peace, love, and guidance. At times, this urge to pray can be a direct response to a need for divine intervention or protection. Angels are sent to guard and guide us, and they may prompt us to pray in moments when we need their protection, or when we are facing challenges that require God's intervention. When you feel compelled to pray or worship without any apparent reason, it may be a call to seek God's help, to invite His angels to work on your behalf, or to simply enter into His presence with a heart of gratitude and praise. In the Bible, we are said that angels minister to the needs of God's people, and they are always working to help bring God's will to pass in our lives. This sudden urge to pray may be a sign that angels are preparing to assist you in some way, or that you are being called to stand in the gap for someone else. This powerful prompting can also be a way of connecting you with the larger spiritual community, both in heaven and on earth. When you are moved to pray or worship unexpectedly, it often feels as if something larger than yourself is guiding your actions. You might find that the prayers you offer in these moments are deeply transformative, not just for you, but for others around you as well. Angels are not only involved in our personal lives, but they also help to intercede on behalf of others. working in the unseen realm to bring about God's will for all. In these moments of prayer and worship, you are aligning yourself with the heavenly hosts, joining in the eternal worship that is always happening in this spiritual world. In the Bible, we are said that prayer is a powerful tool for connecting with God, and worship is an essential part of acknowledging His greatness. Angels, who are intimately familiar with both prayer and worship, often guide us to these practices, knowing that they are the means by which we draw close to God. When you feel that sudden urge to pray or worship, know that it is not just a random thought, but a divine invitation to engage with the spiritual world in a deeper way. The angels are present, drawing you into God's presence and reminding you that He is always with you, guiding you and leading you into moments of spiritual clarity and connection. One of the most noticeable and comforting signs that angels are present in your life is the sudden and overwhelming sense of peace and calm that washes over you, especially during times of stress, fear, or uncertainty. This feeling seems to come from nowhere, filling your heart with an incredible stillness, as if everything in the world has momentarily fallen into place. In moments when you might expect anxiety or worry to take over, an inexplicable peace, this serene, calming presence, is often the work of angels, who are sent by God to bring comfort, reassurance, and divine peace. This sense of peace can be so profound that it feels almost otherworldly. It's not the fleeting peace that comes from external circumstances, but a deep, abiding peace that transcends all understanding. You may find yourself in the midst of a chaotic situation, yet you feel calm and unshaken, as if you are protected by a shield of tranquility. It is as though the presence of angels has surrounded you, offering you the peace that only divine beings can provide. This peace is often a direct response to the spiritual battle happening around us. Angels are sent to guard, protect, and offer peace in times of turmoil. They bring God's peace, which passes all understanding, into our hearts, especially when we need it most. In the Bible, we are said that angels are frequently sent to bring peace to God's people, especially during times of fear or uncertainty. Just as the angels brought a message of peace to the shepherds on the night of Christ's birth, they continue to bring peace to our hearts today. Angels remind us that God is always with us, offering His protection and calming our fears. This peace is not just a temporary feeling, but a sign of God's eternal presence and His commitment to our well-being. When you feel an overwhelming peace, it is a reminder that God's angels are actively involved in your life, bringing His peace to guard your heart and mind. This deep sense of peace often comes at pivotal moments, such as when you are facing difficult decisions, going through a period of grief, or encountering spiritual battles. In these moments, the angels step in, intervening on your behalf to offer calm reassurance. This peace that they bring is a reminder that God is ultimately in control, and no matter what trials we face, we can rest in the assurance that He is watching over us. This peace is a gentle reminder that we do not have to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, as angels are assigned to protect and help us through life's challenges. In moments when anxiety or fear seems overwhelming, this divine peace serves as an anchor for our souls. It offers clarity and comfort when the world around us feels chaotic. It's a sign that the spiritual realm is actively involved in our lives, working to bring us closer to God's will. Angels bring God's peace not only to help us through difficult times, but also to remind us of His love, care, and constant presence. This peace is often felt in quiet moments of prayer, reflection, or simply when you are still and receptive to God's presence. It is as if the angels are gently reminding you to trust in God's plan and to rest in his eternal peace. In the Bible, we are said that God's peace is a gift, not as the world gives, but as a divine blessing that comes directly from the heart of God. When angels are near, they bring this peace as a reminder that God's presence is with us in all things, offering his protection and comfort. It is through this peace that we are able to experience the fullness of God's love and grace, knowing that we are never alone and that his angels are there to guide and protect us. My friends, we are living in a time like no other, where God is revealing his divine blueprint with greater clarity. Nothing in your life is by accident. Every event, every meeting, every challenge is orchestrated by God's mighty hand. He is a God of order, not confusion, and he has written the script of your life before you were even born. God has a master plan, and nothing in your life is random. Every step you take, every challenge you face, and every door that opens or closes is part of something far greater than what you can see. From the beginning of time, God has been orchestrating his divine purpose with precision, ensuring that his will is fulfilled in every detail. He is not a God of disorder, but of perfect alignment. And his plans for you were set in motion before you were even born. In the Bible, we are said that before we were formed in the womb, he knew us. And before we took our first breath, he had already appointed us for a purpose. Look at how God has worked throughout history. When he created the heavens and the earth, everything was designed with purpose. The stars, the seasons, the placement of the waters and the land, none of it was left to chance. He measured the foundations of the earth and stretched out the heavens like a canopy, demonstrating that he is a God of order, not randomness. If he took such care in forming the universe, how much more has he designed a path for you? Consider the story of Moses. From the moment of his birth, when he was placed in a basket and set adrift on the Nile, God's hand was guiding him. What seemed like an act of desperation was actually divine strategy. The very household that should have been his enemy became his place of preparation. Every event in Moses' life, the burning bush, the plagues of Egypt, the parting of the Red Sea, was meticulously orchestrated by God. He was leading Moses step by step toward his destiny, proving that no moment was wasted. God's master plan is not just for biblical figures, it is active in your life today. Even when things seem chaotic, even when you feel lost, God is still in control. In the Bible, we are said that all things work together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. This means that even your trials, your setbacks, and your moments of uncertainty are being woven into his divine tapestry. What you see as a delay may actually be divine positioning. What you perceive as rejection could be God's redirection. Think about Joseph. His brother's betrayal led him into slavery, and his false accusation led him into prison. But neither of those circumstances was the end of his story. Every painful event was a step toward the palace. God's plan for Joseph was never interrupted. It was unfolding exactly as intended. What seemed like suffering was actually preparation for his ultimate calling. This is the God you serve, one who sees the end from the beginning and crafts every detail of your journey with purpose. When you trust in his plan, you can walk forward with confidence, knowing that nothing in your life is accidental. Prophetic patterns in the Bible reveal that God's plans have been unfolding with divine precision since the beginning of time. Everything he does follows a design, a blueprint that he has set in motion long before it manifests in the natural world. His actions are not random, nor does he move without purpose. The lives of those he called, the prophecies he spoke, and the fulfillment of his word all point to a God who operates with absolute order and intention. In the Bible, we are said that he declares the end from the beginning and that his purposes will stand. From the moment God made a covenant with Abraham, we see his plan unfolding step by step. He called Abraham out of his homeland, telling him that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars. It took years before that promise came to pass, but God was not delayed. He was setting things in perfect order. When Abraham and Sarah tried to rush the plan by having a child through Hagar, it only created complications. But when God's appointed time arrived, Sarah gave birth to Isaac, the child of promise. This pattern repeats throughout Scripture. God speaks, there is a waiting period, and then his word comes to pass at the exact right moment. The prophetic timeline continues through Moses. Before Israel was even enslaved in Egypt, God revealed that his people would be strangers in a foreign land for 400 years. This was not an unexpected tragedy. It was part of his divine script. When the time of deliverance came, God raised up Moses, who was miraculously preserved as a baby and placed in Pharaoh's own household. The 10 plagues, the parting of the Red Sea, and the giving of the law at Mount Sinai were all events that had been preordained. In the Bible, we are said that not one of God's words will return void, but it will accomplish what he desires. When we look at the life of Jesus, we see prophecy fulfilled with astonishing accuracy. His birth, his ministry, his death, and his resurrection were all foretold centuries before they happened. The prophet Isaiah described him as the suffering servant, wounded for our transgressions long before he walked the earth. The Psalms spoke of his crucifixion, describing details that were fulfilled to the letter. Even the betrayal by Judas, the price of 30 pieces of silver, and the casting of lots for his clothing were written in advance. Every step of his journey followed a prophetic pattern, proving that God's plan was unfolding just as he had declared. This same divine order continues today. What God has spoken over your life is not a vague possibility. It is a certainty waiting for its appointed time. In the Bible, we are said that though the vision may tarry, we must wait for it will surely come to pass. Just as he fulfilled every prophecy concerning Jesus, he will fulfill his promises to you. Nothing happens outside of his sovereign design, and every detail is aligning according to his perfect will. God speaks through dreams and visions, revealing his plans to those who are willing to listen. Since the beginning of time, he has used the language of the supernatural to communicate with his people. Dreams are not just random images in the night, and visions are not just fleeting thoughts. They are divine messages carrying instruction, warning, and revelation. In the Bible, we are said that in the last days, God will pour out his Spirit, and people will dream dreams and see visions. This means that he is still speaking, and those who tune in will receive direction for their lives. Throughout history, God has revealed his plans through dreams. When Joseph was a young man, he had dreams that showed him ruling over his brothers. At the time, it made no sense to him or those around him, but the dream was not a product of his imagination. It was a glimpse into the future. Even when he was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and imprisoned, the dream never died because it was a word from God. Years later, it unfolded exactly as God had shown him. In the Bible, we are said that God declares the end from the beginning, meaning he often reveals things long before they come to pass. Pharaoh had a dream that troubled him, and no one in his court could interpret it. But Joseph, guided by divine wisdom, understood that the dream was not just symbolic, it was a prophetic revelation of a coming famine. Because of that dream, Egypt was prepared and countless lives were saved. God did not just reveal the future for the sake of information. He gave insight so that action could be taken. This is why dreams and visions are not to be dismissed. They are part of God's detailed plans for guiding his people. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had a dream of a great statue that no one could understand. But Daniel, a man of God, was given the interpretation. That dream was not only for the king, it outlined the rise and fall of empires and pointed to God's eternal kingdom. Just as God spoke through dreams in ancient times, he continues to do so today. In the Bible, we are said that when deep sleep falls upon men, God opens their ears and seals his instruction within them. Visions also play a crucial role in revealing divine plans. The prophet Ezekiel saw visions of heavenly creatures and the glory of God, which gave him insight into things beyond the natural realm. Peter, while praying, fell into a trance and saw a vision that changed his understanding of God's plan for the Gentiles. Paul had a vision of a man from Macedonia calling for help, which directed his missionary journey. These supernatural encounters were not random. They were strategic moments where God unveiled his next move. Many dismiss dreams and visions as mere thoughts, but those who are spiritually sensitive recognize them as messages from heaven. God is speaking more clearly than ever, and those who seek him will receive divine insight. In the Bible, we are said that God does nothing without revealing his plans to his servants. The question is not whether he is speaking, but whether we are paying attention. Divine appointments are not coincidences. Every person you meet, every door that opens, and every situation you walk into is part of a larger plan orchestrated by God. Nothing in the life of a believer happens by accident. What seems like a chance encounter is often a moment of divine alignment where God is strategically positioning you for his purposes. In the Bible, we are said that the steps of a righteous person are ordered by the Lord, which means even the smallest details of your life are guided by his hand. Joseph's journey to Egypt was not by mistake. His brother's betrayal, his time in Potiphar's house, and even his imprisonment were all divine setups to place him in a position of authority. At the right time, Pharaoh had a dream that only Joseph could interpret, leading to his promotion as ruler over Egypt. What seemed like a series of unfortunate events was actually God setting the stage for something greater. Had Joseph not been in that exact place at that exact time, countless lives would have been lost in the famine. In the Bible, we are said that all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Even the painful moments are part of his divine design. Moses was drawn out of the water and raised in Pharaoh's palace, not by accident, but by divine arrangement. He was placed in the enemy's house to be trained in leadership and strategy, preparing him for the mission of delivering Israel. When he fled to the wilderness, it may have seemed like his destiny was over, but even there he had a divine appointment. He encountered the burning bush at the exact moment God had chosen to call him into his purpose. Had he missed that moment, the deliverance of Israel would have been delayed, but God ensured he was in the right place at the right time. Ruth, a Moabite widow, had no idea that her decision to follow Naomi to Bethlehem would lead her to Boaz, the man who would change her destiny. She was gleaning in the fields when Boaz noticed her, but that was not a random event. It was a divine appointment. Through that connection, she became part of the lineage of King David and ultimately Jesus Christ. In the Bible, we are said that God knows the plans he has for us, plans to prosper us and not to harm us, plans to give us a hope and a future. Every encounter, every redirection, and every delay is working toward that plan. Philip was preaching in Samaria when the Spirit of God told him to go to a desert road. There he met an Ethiopian official who was reading the scriptures but did not understand them. At that moment, Philip explained the gospel, leading to the man's baptism. That was not a coincidence. It was a divine assignment. God is still arranging such appointments today, bringing people together for his purpose. What may seem like an ordinary interaction could be the key to unlocking a destiny moment, and those who are spiritually aware will recognize the hand of God moving in their lives. Spiritual discernment unlocks God's plans, allowing his people to navigate life with clarity and purpose. Without discernment, opportunities can be missed, divine warnings can go unnoticed, and doors meant for breakthrough can remain closed. God is always speaking, revealing his plans through his Spirit, but it takes spiritual sensitivity to recognize his voice. In the Bible, we are said that the natural man cannot understand the things of the Spirit because they are spiritually discerned. This means that those who rely solely on human reasoning will struggle to perceive the deeper things God is revealing. When Solomon became king, he did not ask for wealth, power, or military strength. He asked for a discerning heart. He understood that ruling God's people required divine wisdom, not just human strategy. Because of this request, God granted him wisdom beyond any man of his time. One of the most well-known demonstrations of this wisdom was when two women came to him, both claiming to be the mother of the same child. Solomon, through discernment, proposed to divide the child in two, knowing that the real mother would rather give up her child than see him harmed. That decision was not based on logic alone. It was a supernatural ability to see beyond what was presented. In the Bible, we are said that if anyone lacks wisdom, they should ask God, who gives generously without finding fault. Daniel was another man who operated in deep discernment. When King Nebuchadnezzar had a troubling dream, no one could interpret it. But Daniel, through divine insight, not only revealed the meaning, but also told the king exactly what he had dreamed without hearing it first. This was not human intelligence. It was spiritual discernment. Because of his ability to perceive what others could not, he was elevated to a place of great influence in Babylon. In the Bible, we are said that God reveals deep and hidden things and knows what lies in darkness. Jesus, during his earthly ministry, demonstrated perfect discernment. He knew the thoughts of those around him, saw beyond people's words into their true motives, and never allowed deception to take him off course. When the Pharisees tried to trap him with their questions, he always responded with divine wisdom that left them speechless. When he met Nathanael, he told him he had seen him under the fig tree before they had ever met. This was not natural knowledge. It was the ability to perceive in the Spirit. In the Bible, we are said that the Holy Spirit will guide us into all truth, meaning that those who walk closely with God will have supernatural understanding. Many struggle with decisions, not because God is silent, but because they are not tuned into his frequency. The Holy Spirit speaks, warns, and guides, but discernment must be cultivated. In the Bible, we are said that those who belong to God hear his voice. The more time spent in his presence, the clearer his direction becomes. The answers people seek are often already being revealed, but without spiritual discernment, they remain hidden. Obedience activates God's plans and brings his promises to fulfillment. Throughout history, those who walked in obedience saw the manifestation of his power, while those who ignored his instructions delayed or even forfeited their destiny. God is not obligated to bless partial obedience or selective faithfulness. When he speaks, he expects his people to respond completely and without hesitation. In the Bible, we are said that obedience is better than sacrifice, meaning that God values a heart that follows his commands more than empty religious rituals. Abraham was called to leave his homeland, his family, and everything familiar to him. He was not given a full blueprint, only a promise that God would make him into a great nation. He did not ask for guarantees or conditions. He simply obeyed. Because of that obedience, he became the father of many nations. His willingness to follow God, even when it required sacrificing his own son, demonstrated his trust. At the moment he lifted the knife, God provided a ram in the thicket, proving that obedience unlocks divine provision. In the Bible, we are said that if we are willing and obedient, we will eat the good of the land. Noah was given instructions to build an ark when there was no sign of rain. The command must have seemed unreasonable, yet he followed every detail as God directed. Because of his obedience, he and his family were saved while the rest of the world perished. It was not enough to believe in God's warning. He had to act on it. Faith without obedience is incomplete. In the Bible, we are said that faith without works is dead. Many people hear God's voice, receive divine direction, yet fail to act. The blessing is in the doing, not just in the knowing. Moses was chosen to lead Israel out of Egypt, but every step of the journey required obedience. When he lifted his staff over the Red Sea, it parted. When he struck the rock as commanded, water flowed. Yet, in a moment of disobedience, when he struck the rock, instead of speaking to it, he lost the privilege of entering the promised land. Disobedience has consequences, even for those greatly used by God. In the Bible, we are said that those who love him will keep his commandments. True love for God is demonstrated not just in words, but in obedience to his instructions. Jesus himself walked in perfect obedience, even to the point of death. He did not resist the Father's plan, though it required suffering. Because of his obedience, salvation was made available to all. His submission to the will of God brought the greatest victory in history. In the Bible, we are said that he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, and because of this, God exalted him. Every breakthrough, every miracle, and every fulfillment of promise is tied to obedience. When God gives an instruction, those who act on it will see the unfolding of his divine plan in their lives. God's timing is perfect, and his plans unfold at the appointed time. No matter how eager a person may be or how desperately they want a promise to come to pass, it will not happen a moment too soon or too late. His timing is precise, and every event in a believer's life is orchestrated according to his divine calendar. In the Bible, we are said that there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. This means that every promise, every breakthrough, and every answered prayer has an appointed moment. Abraham and Sarah waited years for the fulfillment of God's promise. In their impatience, they tried to take matters into their own hands, and Ishmael was born. But God's covenant was with Isaac, the child of promise, who was born at the exact time God had determined. No amount of human effort or planning could accelerate what God had already scheduled. When the right time came, Sarah, despite her old age, gave birth to the son God had promised. In the Bible, we are said that though the vision may tarry, we must wait for it will surely come to pass. Joseph had a dream of greatness, but his journey to fulfillment took years. He was sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. Yet at the exact moment Pharaoh had a dream that needed interpretation, Joseph was positioned for promotion. One day he was in prison, and the next he was second in command over Egypt. The delay was not a denial. It was a divine setup to prepare him for his destiny. In the Bible, we are said that those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength and rise up like eagles. Waiting is not wasted time. It is a refining process where God aligns circumstances and strengthens character. When the Israelites were delivered from Egypt, they expected to enter the promised land quickly. But because of their disobedience and lack of faith, they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. The promise was not canceled, but it was delayed until the right generation was ready. God's timing is connected to preparation. He does not release people into their destiny until they are equipped to handle it. In the Bible, we are said that after we have suffered a little while, he will establish and strengthen us. The waiting season is not about denial. It is about development. Jesus came into the world at the exact time prophesied. Every detail of his birth, ministry, death, and resurrection followed a divine timetable. He did not rush his mission or move ahead of the Father's plan. Even when people tried to push him into action before the appointed time, he resisted. At the right time, he was crucified, and at the right time, he rose again, securing victory for all. In the Bible, we are said that at the appointed time, God makes all things beautiful. No matter how long the wait, when the moment of fulfillment comes, everything will fall into place exactly as he planned.